People often say money can solve everything, but what if the person who raised a millionaire is quietly suffering in pain, hidden behind the doors of a luxury home? This is the story of a father who had given everything to his family, yet in his final years he felt forgotten, until one night he accidentally discovered what his wife had been doing behind his back. What he saw that night changed everything, not only for him, but for the entire family. Stay with this story, because the truth behind love, sacrifice, and hidden kindness will surprise you. At the end. City lived a successful millionaire named Daniel Harper. His company had grown from a small startup into a massive business empire, and people admired his intelligence and hard work. But behind the fame and luxury, there was a story that almost no one knew. Daniel's father, Thomas Harper, was once a strong and hardworking man. Years ago, he worked long shifts as a construction worker to make sure his son could go to school, eat well, and dream big. When Daniel failed, Thomas encouraged him. When Daniel succeeded, Thomas smiled quietly from the background, but life had changed. Thomas was now old, weak, and constantly in pain due to a severe illness in his joints and spine. Walking had become difficult. Even standing up from a chair took effort. The doctors said the condition could improve with treatment, therapy, and care, but Thomas never wanted to bother his son. Daniel was always busy. Meetings, business trips, investors, interviews. The world saw Daniel as a powerful man who controlled millions of dollars, but at home he was rarely present. Thomas lived in the same house, yet sometimes he felt invisible. His wife, Margaret, was the only person who stayed close to him. She helped him walk, prepared his meals, and reminded him to take his medicine. But something strange had started happening recently. Every evening, Margaret would quietly leave the house for a few hours. She would say things like, "I need to go out for a while," or "Don't worry, I'll be back soon." At first, Thomas didn't think much about it. After all, she had spent her entire life taking care of others. Maybe she needed time for herself, but days turned into weeks, and Thomas began noticing things. Margaret would return late at night, looking tired. Sometimes her eyes were red, as if she had been crying or working very hard. She never explained where she went. Thomas felt confused, and slowly, hurt. He started thinking thoughts he never wanted to think. Was she tired of taking care of me? Was she hiding something from me? Did my illness push her away? The pain is not always physical. Sometimes the heart hurts more than the body. One evening, when Margaret left again, Thomas decided to do something he had never done before. Despite his pain, he slowly stood up, grabbed his coat, and followed her. It took him several minutes just to reach the door. His legs trembled, but curiosity and a quiet fear pushed him forward. Outside, the night air was cold. Margaret walked down the street and got into a taxi. Thomas quickly called another taxi and asked the driver to follow it. The driver looked at him in surprise. "Sir, are you okay?" Thomas nodded quietly. "I just need to know where my wife is going." The ride felt long, even though it was only 20 minutes. Finally, Margaret's taxi stopped in front of a building, but it wasn't a restaurant. It wasn't a shopping mall. It wasn't even a friend's house. It was a hospital. Thomas's heart began beating fast. He slowly stepped out of the taxi and walked toward the entrance, his mind filled with questions. Why would she come here every night? Inside the hospital, he saw something that shocked him. Margaret was talking to doctors, and she looked worried, very worried. Thomas hid behind a corner and listened. What he heard next made his hands shake. "Please," Margaret said softly to the doctor. "I just need a little more time. My husband doesn't know yet." Thomas froze. The doctor spoke gently. "Mrs. Harper, the treatment can help him, but it's expensive and requires regular sessions. Are you sure you want to continue paying from your savings?" Margaret nodded. "Yes. I've already sold some of my jewelry. And I've been working extra shifts here in the evenings. I just want him to walk without pain again." Thomas felt like the world had suddenly stopped working. Here, he looked around and noticed something he had never imagined. Margaret was wearing a hospital volunteer uniform. For weeks, she had been secretly working and helping patients, cleaning rooms, assisting nurses, and saving every dollar she earned to pay for Thomas's therapy. Tears filled Thomas's eyes. All this time, he had thought she was leaving him. But she was actually trying to save him. He slowly stepped forward. "Margaret," she turned around suddenly, shocked. "Thomas? What are you doing here? You shouldn't be walking alone." But before she could say anything else, Thomas gently held her hand. His voice trembled. "You were doing this for me?" Margaret's eyes filled with tears. I didn't want you to feel like a burden. You've already suffered enough. I just wanted to help you walk again, without worrying Daniel. Thomas couldn't hold back his emotions anymore for weeks. He had felt lonely and abandoned, but the truth was the opposite. He had been deeply loved. That night changed everything. The next morning, Daniel returned home from a business trip. He noticed something unusual, his parents sitting together, talking and smiling like they hadn't in years. Dad? Mom? What's going on? Daniel asked. Thomas looked at his son and said something that Daniel would never forget. Son, I think it's time we stop chasing money and start taking care of the people who gave us everything. Margaret then told Daniel the whole story. Daniel was shocked, ashamed, and emotional. He realized that while he was busy building a business empire, his parents were quietly fighting a battle alone. That same week, Daniel made a decision that surprised everyone. He reduced his work schedule. He arranged the best medical treatment for his father, and he started spending evenings at home. Slowly, with therapy and care, Thomas began improving. For the first time in years, he was able to walk longer distances without pain, but more importantly, the house that once felt quiet and lonely was now full of warmth again. Laughter returned, family dinners returned, love returned, and Thomas often said something that stayed in everyone's heart: true wealth is not measured by money, it's measured by the people who stay with you when life becomes difficult. Sometimes the people we think are leaving us are actually fighting battles for us in silence. Love doesn't always speak loudly, it often hides behind sacrifices no one sees, and the greatest success in life is not becoming a millionaire. It's remembering the people who made you who you are.